We're glad to have you back. Agriculture, no doubt, is the bedrock of transformational growth and development of any nation due to its high employment opportunities, self-sufficiency in food production, foreign exchange earnings through exports, among others. In Nigeria, events that have shaped the country's agricultural sector in recent times indicates that the nation is far from achieving the goal 2 of ending hunger by 2030, in line with the United Nations Global Agenda of Sustainable Development Goals. This year alone, more than 25 million Nigerians are projected to suffer from food and nutrition insecurity between June and September, and other challenges such as perennial flood, inaccessible mechanized agriculture, lack of quality and improved seeds for farmers, poor policy implementation, farmer header crisis, low investment in irrigation, and an ability to transform the livestock sector have continued to undermine the sector and the country's viable agricultural sector. As the president-elect gets set to begin his 4-year term, as the first 4-year term, there are high expectations that the next administration will change the narration of the story. Let's talk more about this and understand what's happening in the space and what can be done to get it better. I'm being joined via Zoom by a former Commissioner of Agriculture in Ekiti State. Is Dr. Olabode Adeoti. He's done a lot around the agribusiness. Dr. Adeoti, thank you so much. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, Nigeria.
Yes, let's start with the present state of our agricultural sector. We've grappled with a series of challenges from storage to post-harvest issues. We can go on and on. Give an overview of what you think is the present position and where can we be? What can push us? What's that thing that can make us get to where we should? Talking about all of the opportunities we have surrounding agriculture in Nigeria.
Thank you once again. Thank you once again, Mr. Moderator.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Agriculture today is now agribusiness, which means agriculture should be handled and should be taken as a business. It's like a businessman that goes to the bank to borrow money. So today, you go to the bank, you borrow money to do agribusiness, even though the interest rate might be higher. So it's time that our people, our youth, the elders, the women should now know that it is no more a culture, but it's now a business. It's a sorry case that in the 50s and in the 60s, agriculture was our mainstay, was our main foreign exchange earner. But with the discovery of oil, even in the 1950s or so, it has crumbled systematically. The weight of agriculture, the wealth it could bring to the nation. But thank God, all over subsequent government, Operation Feed the Nation, Back to Land, Greek land, here and there, Land Use Act of 1978, different system has been applied by various government, and everything has been near half success, half success, half success. Today, we find ourselves where we are because we abandoned agriculture. Look at it, Nigeria with 33 million hectares of arable farm. We don't need to complain. 200 million people. And today, agriculture is contributing between 23% to 30% to our GDP, though it's varying. And of course, more than 80% of farmers that are involved in agriculture today and in the hand of the farm holders people, but at least agriculture still contributed more than 36% to the labor force. So which means government of the day, I believe the government that is going now, the Buhari administration government, has tried a lot in the area of agriculture, trying to bring in different programs that could make money available, land available to agriculture. However, it's disheartening that over the year, government has not really taken agri as agribusiness, in the sense that the budgetary allocation, even at the federal level and state level, is still less than 5%. When you look across the federal budget, it's less than 4% of the entire budget. And Maputo Declaration, where African head of state met, they said minimum of 10% should be set aside. So nowadays, we have Nigeria has grown past the Maputo Declaration of earmarking 10% of 10% of to agree to the national budget. I will admonish the coming government to make agriculture, to make our budget between 40 and 50%, because that is the low-hanging fruit that the new incoming administration should take into consideration. Look at it in all the six geopolitical zones. God bless us with so many resources. Look at it to the southwest. You have the tree crops. You have the cocoa of this world. You have the rubber. To the east, you have the oil palm. And to the northern part, you have the arable crops. You have the granite. You have the maize. You have the sesame seed. You have the sorghum and coal. So we have to go back there now. Money has to be made available to agriculture. Government must not pay lip service to agriculture again. The budget of 4% to total budget of agriculture to the total national budget cannot survive the rate that we are growing. The population of Nigeria is growing at an alarming rate of 3.5%, while the agric and food is being grown at 2.5%. So what government needs to do now is to pump money into agriculture. So the government try by introducing anchor borrower, processing and co is helping, but it has not really got to the farmer, the real farmer. We are not talking about political farmers today. Youth population in Nigeria today is more than 60%. So agriculture should be sexy. It should be made attractive.
Yes, Dr. Adeotoi, allow me to interject. Yes, I really want to come in from that end of bringing youth, making it attractive to youth at this time, making it, in your words, sexy. That's what many would say. How can we make agriculture? And many would say it's by mechanizing it. We need mechanized farming. Do we have that capacity to totally mechanize farming in this part of the world?
Thank you once again. Like I told you, I said we have 33 million hectares arable crops that are available in Nigeria for farming. One of our challenges in Nigeria is mechanization. And you ask me, the entire country today, we have less than 10,000 tractors in the entire country. In the state in India, it's not enough for a state there. And even in Nigeria today, when you look at Niger, you look at Kaduna, you look at Borno and Co., 10,000 tractors is not enough for them. So what do? In order for us and for youth to be attracted to this agriculture, the farm estate that was established in the 60s has to be brought back. Each of the states in Nigeria, each of the geopolitical zone, they have farm estate. This farm estate, either the federal government in different senatorial districts and the state government too, must make this farm estate active. How would they make it active? Money must be voted for it. Land must be prepared. Why the youth, either you are a graduate of any other polytechnic or university, or you go to colleges of education and technical college, they could be put into training. We have IITA in Ibadan, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, sitting in front of our nose like this. We should make use of them. Our youth should be trained. Government should make IITA useful to us in Nigeria. So with this farm estate in different states, in different zones, in different geopolitical zones, government should clear the land. In the southern Nigeria today, let me say, taking the Ekiti State for example, you will need nothing less than 750,000 naira before you can prepare an hectare of land to plant either cassava or maize, unlike in the northern part. So mechanization and making tractors available is the solution. Then preparing the land for the youth, construct some residents on this farm estate, make it the social aspect of it, and put television there at the center so that it will be attractive to this youth. And of course, let them have stipend like a salary so that by the time they are harvesting, you can now accumulate this and take it from their harvest. Thanks to African Development Bank with what they are now doing with the processing zone, which they are starting with some government now, I believe by the time these youths are being taken to different farm estates, they will produce, and I believe business people will uptake it and process it. Because one of our challenges in Nigeria is also producing without processing. More than 60 to 65% of our produce today are being wasted. Post-harvest loss is as high as over 60%. So if we can have this youth there, uptake what they are producing, process it, we will have enough during the off-season and we will be able to also export. That is when agriculture will be attractive to our youth.
Let me also ask you, being a former commissioner, what about state governments? How do you intend to extend that handshake between states and the federal government, like you're advising the president-elect now? What is that? Do we have that handshake between the states and the federal government with regards to agricultural development? I mean, between subnationals and the federal level.
Thank you once again. One of the things the new government coming in and the president-elect should look at is to declare state of emergency in our agriculture. So many things are very wrong there. One, we are still using the olden days cutlass and hoe. Like I told you, the smallholder farmers in Nigeria are more than 80%. So we could have something like a in-grow-out-grower system where either federal or state, we prioritize agriculture in their area, carve out, acquire some land, of course, pay compensation to the landowner, open up farms for people. When they open up farms for people, they allocate it for them. For example, I've said it, each of a geopolitical zone, we have crops that we have core competence. For example, if Nigeria that is producing average of maybe 300,000 metric tons of cocoa today should be producing nothing less than 2 million metric tons. Côte d'Ivoire is leading us now, over 2 million metric tons. Nigeria is producing 300,000 metric tons. Ondo State is the highest cocoa producing state in Nigeria today, maybe producing just 100,000 metric tons. State of emergency should be declared on cocoa, on oil palm, on rubber, on maize, on soya, on sorghum, on wheat, which we have over 636 billion trade deficit in importing food items. We don't need it. Nigeria should be net exporter. Anytime I'm outside the country and I see a smaller country like Belgium producing and exporting agricultural produce, both in livestock, both in crop, no, I used to look and say, no, for us to get it right, we must prioritize agriculture. I'm usually unhappy anytime I read national budget and I'm seeing budget to agriculture less than 5%, even at times 1.8%, 2%. Those are the challenges. So we need, each state need to now prioritize it now. And I believe that is the low-hanging fruit that any state or federal or our president-elect should look at now, agriculture, because God bless us in Nigeria. Some country in Israel or Egypt, they don't even have rain up to more than 2 months. Look at the kibbutz in Israel. Look at what they are doing. If they pick, I saw banana in the desert there when I got to Israel, and we have abundant rain in the southern. So if our core competence in the southern region is to produce plantain, to produce oil palm, to produce cocoa, forestry, and coal, let us upstake it. Let us commercialize it. Let us mechanize it, and you will see that the resources that the First Republic they are using will come back. Look at rice, for example. The government of Buhari took rice as a priority. Look at it today. We are more sufficient in rice production now, and I prefer eating our locally produced rice to the imported rice that has been in the silo for more than 3 years. So that is an example of one crop. So let each state government take at least 2 crops where they have a comparative advantage. Produce it. Look at the entire agriculture value chain, from production to growing it to harvesting it, then value addition, then of course for local market and for export market. Half of our product today should be exporting. Take yam, for example. Take cassava, for example. Cassava will produce 60 million metric tons in Nigeria. Less than 20% are being processed. We are busy eating gari when we can make ethanol from it for pharmaceutical industry. Cassava flour is there. Why are we going to be importing wheat? Even if we are importing wheat, it will be maybe less than 10%. There are so many things we can use cassava. Starch is also there. We are still busy importing starch when we are the highest producer of cassava. Look at yam also. Today, Nigeria is still the highest producer of yam, close to 58 million metric tons. Ghana, that is producing less than 15%, is the highest, is exporting yam more than 80% to different European and American countries. So that is the bane of agriculture, and I believe what government should focus on now. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Adetoyi, Olabode Adetoyi, this is going to be a continuous discussion because we'll continue to discuss all of these issues, set agendas on various sectors. But I must thank you so much for your interesting conversation, contribution on the show today. It's been very, very educating, particularly with the numbers, direct figures that you're mentioning. We'll keep a tab on this and always have you on the program subsequently. Former Commissioner, Agriculture, Ekiti State, Dr. Olabode Adeoti, thank you so much. To enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Well, interesting conversation there. And one thing that resonates to me there is adding value. We're not even adding value to petroleum products, not to talk of adding value to agricultural products. That's a topic for another day.